Christian leadership is disciple making. Hi, I'm Darren Wright from 12 Church, where we're seeking to be disciples who make disciples in this time and place. We want to help passionate but frustrated Christians break free from missional paralysis and start living on mission now. A couple years ago, I heard about Damian Gerke and his book, In the Way, and I got a copy of the book, and then I hunted down his website and ultimately ended up in a coaching relationship with him. And this went on for about 6 months, 2 calls a month. Finally hit pause on that because I was accumulating so much information and so many ideas, I had to pause so I could start applying it. One of my personal challenges is falling into the trap of just learning and not applying. And I learned so much I had to then take some time to apply it. I summarized some of the key learnings from that process, things that either Damian had said or I had thought or things that just kind of became clear to me. Here's a few of them. Christian leadership is disciple making. Chew on that for a while. It will lead to all kinds of thoughts, including this question: if disciple making isn't happening, is Christian leadership actually happening? Like I said, chew on that for a bit. When it comes to disciple making, take action, make mistakes, and move on. This is in contrast to perfectionism, thinking we need to have the whole path, the whole thing figured out before we do anything. No, disciple making is more like ready, fire, aim, and adjust and fire again. I tend to fall into the trap of ready, aim, learn some more, aim some more, maybe eventually fire. No, it's about taking action, making mistakes, and moving on. A key issue in disciple making is the issue of surrender, both in our own lives and in the lives of those that we are seeking to disciple. Here's a good question. Is there anything in my life that God needs to compete with? I often revisit Romans chapter 12, where we're called to offer our bodies as living sacrifices to Him. And the first passage I ever memorized as a child without being told to is Mark chapter 8, where Jesus says, if anyone wants to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Is there anything in my life that God needs to compete with? Surrender is a big issue. The goal is not more disciples. By some loose definition of disciple, that might mean convert or Christian or church attendee. The goal is disciples who make disciples. Understanding that a disciple is someone who makes disciples is a key concept in disciple making. Here's a key for evangelism. Look for people who are in need and come alongside them. I've come across the acronym PIPSI: Poor, Internationals, that is immigrants, Prisoners, the Sick, and Youth. These are 5 categories of people that you might have around you who may be open to the gospel. Reading the Bible from a legacy church perspective versus a disciple-making perspective can lead to vastly different applications. For instance, Ephesians chapter 4, where we learn that the apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastor, teachers are to equip the saints for works of service. In a legacy church context, this is often applied as training people to do ministries inside the church building, inside the church program. In a disciple-making context, when you hear that, you understand it's talking about some aspect of disciple-making. And it's not just about inside the box of the church building. It's about how we serve one another and how we serve those who are out there. Many passages sound radically different when you look at them through a disciple-making lens. Read the gospel from the perspective of how did Jesus make disciples, and you'll make some amazing discoveries. Disciple-making is about equipping and releasing people, not just teaching content, not just helping people accumulate knowledge. It's about following Jesus and inviting others to join us. Again, look at the Gospels. See how Jesus did it. We in the Legacy Church tend to overcomplicate disciple making. So many times when people start to learn about disciple making movements, they have questions that begin with, what about blank? And in the blank is some standard program or idea from the Legacy Church. What about youth ministry? What about kids programs? What about worship services? What about, again, fill in the blank? The response to those questions, and some of them are very good and valid and logical questions, but the response to those questions is, does that thing help us make and multiply disciples? If it doesn't, we probably need to let it go. If it doesn't help us make disciples, why are we doing it? Let's not overcomplicate it. Disciple making, while not easy, is quite simple. The basic prayer of a disciple maker is prayer for direction. Asking for direction in the day-to-day routine of life. Asking the Lord, what are you calling me to next? Asking the Lord, what is the next step with this person or this situation? Damian says something like this: have a clear conscience, be committed to obedience, pray for direction every day, and you will be led. Intercession is always strategic. And just in case you didn't hear it the first time, Christian leadership is disciple making.